Most of these crosses came up at the time of the plague. When you had the plague, people were afraid. They set this up either as part of a wish that they made, a fulfillment of a wish, or simply to crave protection. Many of them dedicated statues in Bandra, especially dedicated to Saint Roch. And so over the years after these have been set up, they have become, as it were, symbols for people to gather around, to pray. As a community, we have always been so generous, we have always been so giving. If you look at it, the community has never built a new cross. I don't think people have been going around building crosses over 25 years. You don't hear of people building crosses at all. So if the community has been so generous, why can't the government be a little more generous and understanding in its approach towards the Christian community, whatever the issue may be? In 2003, the High Court of Bombay, based on a public interest litigation, issued a statement that all illegal structures should be served a notice. And based on that, the municipality gave notices to everyone, all the crosses, in 2003. And the Catholic community took a lot of trouble to research, to find all their papers, and they responded to to what the municipality wanted. What happened, unfortunately, was that we think that they never ever gave it to the High Court. But subsequently, the Gujarat government and the Union of India, in a judgment that the High Court passed between these two parties, they ruled that henceforth, after 2009, no more religious structures would be permitted on public property, public land, government land. And they said, with regard to illegal structures, unauthorized religious structures prior to 2009, every single state government and the union territories would look at it case by case, on a case by case basis. They also asked each of the state governments to file a policy, create a policy with regard to these unauthorized or authorized structures, and then the same had to be sent, an affidavit had to be filed in the High Court, an affidavit of compliance saying we have done it. Now the Maharashtra government never did it. They still don't have a policy. But what they did was, because the Supreme Court again rapped them on their knuckles and said, why haven't you framed this policy, they came out with a general resolution. In the GR which they have pasted as part of the notice on every cross, they do not mention anything new except what the Supreme Court has said, wherein they've said all unauthorized structures which are obstructing traffic, which are on public land, should be removed. If you paste this insensitively, it upsets people. Secondly, we are living in a democracy, not in an autocracy. So to put a notice up on a Saturday afternoon and expect someone to reply on a Monday morning, only an autocratic government would do a thing like this. So the BMC has been caught napping, and in order to comply with the court, they have insensitively put these notices on our board. Now the issue is that we have replied to them. In 2003, we've given them a response, and they should have got back to us and said we accept it or we don't accept it. They've said nothing. And so by law, it is deemed that our structures are legal.
As soon as the people of Baikla Hatibagh informed me about their cross, which was a cross built in the year 1935, was to be demolished, I immediately sent the papers to the CSF, and a copy was also handed to Dr. Mathai. And since we had the assurance that the crosses would not be demolished and that a month's extension had been given to us, we felt that everything was in place. But unfortunately, yesterday, when the demolition really took place, our people got panicky, and the Catholics, which have been a very peaceful community, finally decided that it was time we did something about it, and that's why we are here this evening.
I heard that the crosses had been demolished. Last night about 10 o'clock I went to the place myself. What I saw pained me very much. It pained me because I felt that this is not the Mumbai I know. I am a Mumbaiker. I was born and brought up over here. I know the harmony we have, I know the respect we have for religions, I know the respect we have for religious symbols, but it's not the Mumbai I knew. I'm sorry because I saw these old ladies over there clinging to the cross, not knowing what to do, helpless, unable to explain what had happened. I'm sorry, because, my dear municipal authorities, you have not insulted us Christians, you have insulted God. You have shown a disrespect to religion and insensitivity, which I think is a shame, a blot on society, a blot on Mumbai. I've got calls from the international press asking what's happening. You think it's nice for me to tell the press abroad in the world that our crosses are being destroyed? I am ashamed myself of what's happening in Mumbai.
The Supreme Court order has put the onus on the state government to decide what is authorized and what is unauthorized. But I want to ask a question. Who decides what is unauthorized? Now, we explained to the municipal commissioner that the CTS records, especially in places like Bandra and some other areas, where the crosses don't figure in the CTS because they were part of private properties. And private properties were there in the CTS, but when time, as per the years went by, you all took away land to make roads, therefore these crosses came on the road. So what happens in my compound will not be there in the CTS records. So you cannot use that as a yardstick to determine the age of the cross. More than 40% of the social work done in this country is done by the Christians, and because of the cross. The best education institutions, the best of social work, who takes care of the lepers, who takes care of the aged patient, look at it. It's because of this cross. So I want to tell Subodh Kumar, the municipal commissioner, he cannot behave like a Hitler. Even he or even his kids would have studied in convent schools. Therefore, we want to tell him from this platform, enough is enough.
I want to tell the civic authorities, as Abraham Matai said, you are no dictator. You are our employees. This is a democracy, and the people are sovereign. You can't decide what is right and what is wrong. I think that I am seriously thinking, contemplating after taking the legal advice to go to the courts to get redressal.
Also, it is the duty of the state government to create a policy. We have appealed to the state government, formulate a policy and send the same to the Supreme Court. Don't just do this kind of knee-jerk reaction and ask the BMC to demolish structures, because it hurts the sentiments of people. Once again, we are very much for following the law. In fact, to the credit of the Christian community, each time the government has asked or the Supreme Court has laid down certain strictures with regard to the state or with regard to the country, we have obliged. Take the midnight masses, for example. We straight away said, no problem, we will end by midnight, we will end by 10 o'clock. We have complied in each case. So why is it that a government begins to act in such a high-handed manner?